Most people move through life believing they are consciously in control of their choices, that their decisions are rational, deliberate, intentional. But the truth is far more unsettling. A large portion of your daily behavior is governed by psychological programs you did not choose, patterns installed long before you understood what they meant. And this is where your story begins, not with your decisions, but with your conditioning. Your brain is a survival machine. It's not built to make you happy or fulfilled. It's built to keep you alive with the least amount of risk possible. So instead of asking, "What will make my life better?" your brain constantly asks, "What will keep things predictable?" And predictability becomes a prison. Your brain doesn't care if a situation is healthy. It cares if it feels familiar. Familiarity is the brain's shortcut to safety. That means you can remain stuck in cycles that hurt you simply because, neurologically, your brain has concluded, at least we know how to survive this. This explains why people return to relationships that drain them, why they sabotage opportunities that could change everything, why they fear the unknown even when the known is destroying them. Your brain prefers the pain it understands over the possibility it hasn't mapped yet. This is not weakness. This is wiring. And this wiring begins early. Memories you don't consciously recall are influencing your emotional responses today. Moments of fear, chaos, rejection, or instability become templates. Invisible maps that your subconscious uses to define what normal feels like. If you grew up in an environment where love came with confusion, inconsistency, or emotional distance, the brain internalized that pattern as safe, simply because it was repeated. Not good, not healthy, just known. And the known becomes your cage. This is why progress feels threatening. Growth demands uncertainty, and uncertainty feels like danger to a brain built for survival. When you try to change, your brain activates all its alarms: doubt, fear, procrastination, avoidance, self-sabotage. These are not signs that you're incapable. They are signs that your brain is trying to protect you from the unknown. But here's the part most people never hear. Awareness alone begins the escape. When you identify the invisible forces guiding your behavior, your brain loses a piece of its automatic control. By bringing these patterns into consciousness, you create psychological distance, and distance is the birthplace of choice. So before you learn how to break free, you must understand what you are breaking free from. Not bad habits, not lack of motivation, but a survival system that believes holding you back is keeping you alive. If this message already resonates with you, it means part of your mind is waking up, questioning its old programming and recognizing that predictable is not the same as safe. Your brain has kept you trapped for years, maybe decades. But this is the moment the door begins to open. And in the next section, you will understand exactly how that trap was built and how to dismantle it piece by piece. But before we continue, there's something that's almost never said when we talk about change. The brain doesn't adapt to what you want. It adapts to what you repeat. And this is where most people get lost. They think that a strong, motivating, emotional decision is enough to break patterns. It isn't. Motivation doesn't beat neurochemistry. Willpower doesn't beat programming. The brain functions as an internal guardian, and it monitors everything you do, not to limit you, but to maintain internal stability. That's how the human species survived, repeating what seemed safe, avoiding what seemed risky, and ignoring everything that didn't seem urgent. The problem is that, in modern life, this mechanism imprisons you. The brain doesn't want you to think again. It wants you to repeat. Each behavior you do repeatedly creates a kind of neurological shortcut. These shortcuts are efficient, fast, and save energy. And that's why change is so difficult. You're not fighting a habit, you're fighting an entire neural pathway. Your brain says, why spend energy on something new if I can just repeat what I already know? This is where you begin to understand why you say you're going to change, but stay the same. Know what you should do, but don't do it. Create perfect plans, but don't execute them. Start something new and abandon it halfway through. This isn't a lack of discipline. This is your brain protecting you from wasting too much energy. The brain confuses emotional consistency with security. There's a fascinating detail that almost no one talks about. The brain doesn't care if something is good or bad. It cares if something is known. This means that if you've spent years living with anxiety, conflict, self-criticism, or emotional chaos, the brain creates an association. This is uncomfortable, but I know how to handle it. So when life finally starts to improve, when peace, stability, or growth emerges, you feel a strange unease, as if something is wrong. This discomfort isn't conscious sabotage. It's just your brain saying, this is good, but it's not familiar. Therefore, it's not safe. And that's how you revert to old behaviors. Not because you chose them, but because your brain tried to bring you back to familiar territory. With the illusion of I can't change. Many people believe they don't change because they lack willpower, but in reality, another phenomenon is happening. Your brain creates resistance proportional to the size of the change. Big changes trigger alarms. Small changes go unnoticed. Therefore, small actions work. Big changes paralyze. Radical restarts fail. Micro transformations last. Your brain resists the leap, but accepts the step. And when you understand this, everything changes. Because you start building real, gradual, and solid change instead of fighting against a system designed to resist. The third layer of the mechanism that keeps you trapped is so silent that many people go their whole lives without realizing it. The brain creates internal narratives to justify its own limitations. This means that even before you try something, your mind has already invented a logical explanation for not moving forward. These narratives are not truths. They are disguised protections, and they arise in extremely convincing ways. Now is not a good time. I'll do it later. I don't want to get frustrated. Maybe I'm not good enough. Notice, none of these phrases are really about the present. They are emotional echoes of past experiences. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of facing your own expectations. This is how your brain controls you without you realizing it. It uses logic as an excuse, but it's just protection, and this protection has a huge emotional cost. It prevents you from discovering who you could be. What the cycle of emotional self-explanation. When you're about to grow up, an internal mechanism is triggered. Your brain starts anticipating potential discomfort, constructs negative scenarios, activates old memories, and then creates a compelling story to keep you in the same place. On the outside, it looks like prudence. On the inside, it's fear. And the problem isn't the fear itself. The problem is that you believe it. This is where it all repeats. 1. You feel discomfort. 2. Your brain activates an emotional alert. 3rd, an automatic story emerges to stop you. 4. You obey the story and return to the starting point. This cycle is so fast that it seems natural. But none of this is natural. It's old emotional programming controlling your adult life. And as long as this cycle exists, any attempt at change will be perceived as a threat. The invisible trap of internal consistency. there is yet another powerful block. The brain always tries to maintain consistency between what you believe about yourself and what you experience. If you grew up believing that you don't deserve much, you always disappoint someone, you must be strong all the time, you need to prove yourself all the time, then your brain will do everything to make your life continue to resemble these beliefs. Not because they are true, but because they are known. Your brain prefers to be consistent than to be happy. It prefers to repeat an old story rather than create a new one. It's like living in a completely dark room you don't see, but you know every corner, every object, every step. It's uncomfortable, but familiar. The light is frightening because it reveals everything you weren't ready to face. The necessary confrontation. And here's the truth that almost no one wants to face. You're not imprisoned by what happened to you. You're imprisoned by what your brain has learned to believe about you. It's hard to admit this, but it's liberating. Because if your brain learned it, it can also unlearn it. And that's exactly where the cycle begins to break. Not by trying to change the external world, but by questioning the internal story that keeps you small. The most uncomfortable truth about your own brain is this: it doesn't work for your freedom. It works for your continuity. And that difference changes absolutely everything. Because deep down, what keeps you trapped isn't the fear of the future, but silent loyalty to the past. The brain prefers to recycle old pains rather than face new possibilities. That's why even after learning, understanding, reflecting, you revert to acting like the previous version of yourself. It's not a lack of willpower, it's conditioning. But there is something the brain cannot fully control: present awareness. Awareness is the only force capable of interrupting an automatic pattern. It creates a space, an interval between impulse and action. And within that interval, your true freedom is born. That's why, when you begin to observe your thoughts, not fighting them, not trying to push them away, just observing, something profound begins to happen. The brain tries to pull you back, but you're no longer on autopilot. It tries to recreate the past, but you perceive the movement. It tries to repeat the same emotions, but you see the pattern forming. And this simple act of perceiving is the first crack in the prison, because the brain knows how to repeat, but you are the one who knows how to choose. Even so, freeing yourself from these invisible forces isn't quick. It doesn't happen with a video, a book, an inspired morning, or a new cycle on Monday. Liberation doesn't happen in leaps. It happens in micro choices, 1,000 times smaller than your ego would like, but 1,000 times more powerful than fear believes. You don't need to master your entire mind today. You just need to master the next minute, the next thought, the next impulse, the next automatic reaction you choose not to obey. This is how the brain changes, not when you yell at it, but when you patiently retrain it. And then, little by little, your system begins to understand that you are no longer living in the past, that the old danger is over, that you no longer need to shrink to survive, that now there is an adult you, capable of choosing new paths, even if it's scary. When this understanding finally settles in, a rare kind of freedom happens. A silent, mature freedom that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. A freedom that doesn't shout, but is felt. A freedom that is born when you realize that what held you back was just a reflection of who you no longer are. And if this video touched something in you, a memory, a pattern, a feeling of now it makes sense, I want you to do just one thing. Comment with a simple sentence: I am ready to reprogram my mind. Because writing this down, even if it seems small, is the first conscious act of someone who decides not to repeat their own history. And if you want to delve deeper into this process of emotional and mental liberation, sign up here for Mind Pattern Atlas. This is just the beginning of your transformation.